listen, this year is different than every other year I can remember. And the reason why, Kurt, we're talking about 14 or 15 teams that are actually question marks in. I'm not saying there's going to be 14 or 15 openings, but there are questions. And all of these, look at all this. Look, there's a lot of names up there. It's usually about 7. But look, let's kind of clear this a little bit. All right, let's put some of these guys in categories. This is safe. I know there's some word out there this week thinking that Aaron Glenn's not safe. He is safe. I think Shane Steichen, I know they had some talks this week. They're going to talk again this coming week as well. I do think that they're safe, and I think Zach Taylor's safe as well with the Bengals. All right, let's who's out. All right, we talked about Kevin Stefanski earlier. Pete Carroll, he's going to be out with the Raiders. We obviously already know about the Tennessee Titans. They're actually a really attractive job to a lot of these candidates because of Cam Ward. No state tax down there. People love the GM as well. And also the New York Giants. They have really good personnel, finally, for a new coach to be lured there. All right, now this is the time will tell. Guys, I talked about Kevin Stefanski. You could actually have 3 coaches in the AFC North who might be on the move. We have John Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin. Depends what happens later. And Mike Tomlin, I think it'll be his decision. I don't see him getting fired. Also, John Harbaugh. Might be time for him to move on as well. So you could have 3 there. You're talking Matt LaFleur also. Why is he on the board? Matt LaFleur's job security has been questioned weekly at his press conferences, which would be crazy to move on from a guy like that. But he's there. Mike McDaniel, he's safe right now. It depends who they bring in as general manager. Same there with Raheem Morris. I talked last week about Matt Ryan talking to the team about getting brought in there to help them out. I think that has a big influence on what happens to Raheem and the general manager as well.
All right, what piqued your interest?
You know, I don't think there's a Ben Johnson out there who I think is turned out to be better than, and expectations were high. He's eclipsed those. I think defense, maybe Brian Flores. I think the Mike McDaniel, Kubiak model in Seattle, particularly after last night, that could be it.
Anybody surprise you on that list?
Oh, yeah. I think when you look at a Green Bay, I mean, who would have thought that coming? I mean, that's surprising to me because I think that team, if you look at this year, you would say when they brought in Michael Parsons, that was a piece that they needed. But the second he went out, your quarterback gets hurt. Things happen. Obviously, you don't have the best players on the field, so I'm surprised he's on that list.
All right, Howie hinted maybe some guys who might be candidates to take some of these jobs. Jay, who is?
And look, a guy like LaFleur obviously would be. I think they need to sign him a contract extension. They're not going to let him go in a lame duck. You see what's going to happen there. As far as offensive candidates also, if a guy like that is out there, we talked about Stefanski. He'd be high up on this list, but there's not a lot of great offensive coordinators out there that, like Howie said, like the Ben Johnsons. Look, guy like Clint Kubiak obviously made a case for himself last night. He's going to be a lot of lists. Mike McCarthy, Arthur Smith, if you want somebody working with quarterbacks, those are guys as well. Sean McVay has 3 offensive coaches who are on his list as well. And Davis Webb with Sean Payton, he's a guy that's rising as well. Let's go to defense now, because there's more defensive candidates out there than offensive candidates, and that's a big switch from normal. Vance Joseph done a great job out there, and a lot of these guys have had head coaching experience before. Vance will get interviews. Robert Saleh will get interviews. Flores as well. Jeff Hafley, he's really hot right now, despite all the injuries in Green Bay. Chris Shula as well for the Rams, and Jesse Minter, he's a guy who's getting hot as well.
Gronk, you taking messages from this?
Yeah, so a guy that's intriguing to me is Brian Flores, the Minnesota defensive coordinator. He was my defensive coordinator in New England for some years. He was the head coach for Miami throughout the time a couple years ago. I think he's learned from his mistakes. He kind of re-garnished himself, reinvented himself, being the defensive coordinator for Minnesota. I think he deserves a second chance now.
But we always hear about offensive coaches. You need an offensive coach. We talk about Denver and Houston being the 2 best in the AFC. We talk about Seattle and the NFC. What are they all led by? Defense.
Yeah.
So maybe some of these teams, instead of going, we need to score points, you got to stop people from scoring points. You don't have to score as many. So I think defense
we screw
is now
the quarterback position up so much in football. And I think that's why the offensive side of the ball is usually looked at.
What is it? McCarthy was up there, right?
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Yeah. There's an offensive guy right there, a great offensive mind, a guy that's won a Super Bowl in Green Bay.
New York Giants.
I think also you look at that list, you're seeing more candidates who are leaders of men. Yeah. Instead of just a guy who's a good X's and O's guy on either side of the ball. Great job as always, Jake Glazer.
Way to go, buddy.
We appreciate the info.
You look tall.
You look great, man.
All right, we'll let Jake take a little break.